Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. Have you ever wondered how to be a powerful leader? Our next guest knows. Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris. Our normal host, Nick Smith, is on vacation. He's cruising the U.S., handing out books like, I don't know, like a crazy man. But if you haven't followed us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. You can join the Tribe of Giants on Facebook as well. And but today I'm really excited because I'm joined by a fellow league member, Melissa Ross, out of Canada. And Melissa Ross, will you introduce our guest for us today?
I would love to. I'm so glad to be here, and I will try my best to fill Nick's ginormous shoes. I know he has
Phil
big.
and Phil.
To
He
fill them,
has
not
big
feel them.
shoes.
To
Yeah.
fill them, not feel them. That was pretty.
That's
Yeah,
good.
that was interesting.
He
All
has
right.
a size 11 wide, by the way.
I know. That's
if
why I
anyone
said I
wants
know
to
they're
know.
big. I
Yeah,
know
they
that
are
he has
big.
11 wides because I bought him socks once. That's
Oh,
a
there
whole
you
other
go.
story. All right, it is my pleasure to introduce Aashi Mital. She is the CEO and founder of Pivotal Solutions Consulting. She focuses on problem solving, disruptive sustainability solutions, organizational health, executive coaching, professional development, and global connectivity. And it just makes me tired saying all of those things. I can't believe that she's involved in all of that. But the most important thing that she's involved in that I see out of all of that that's not even mentioned in her bio and I want to know so much more about is her new program, Get Your Life Back for Women. And I'm really excited to get into all of that as well as everything else today. Welcome, Aashi.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so glad you get exhausted reading in that very first line. You know, it's just all about making the world a better place. Take out the fancy words and just put in that simple concept of let's just make the world a better place, right?
Absolutely. So
awesome.
start us off, Aashi, and we're going to jump right into it. I want to know what it was like growing up as Aashi. What did home life look like?
It was hard. It was very, very hard in the sense of level of expectation. Coming from the family I do, where everybody, oh my gosh, it's crazy. Everybody's doing like all these crazy, immense things, like the first member on the Supreme Court, in India, and this person involved with this worldwide research. So the expectations were sky high. And, the education, the expectation of always doing the right thing, having the great work ethic, having the responsibility put on your shoulders, basically coming out of the womb. So the desire to perform and achieve that excellence just was pretty much raised into me, but it was also really internal because at a certain point I was just like, look, it's not mom and dad pushing me. It's not only the fact that they have expectations, I have expectations of myself. The world has expectations of you and use of your potential. And that I think was that catalyst, like that moment when I realized I'm not doing it for other people, I'm doing it for myself. And despite what everybody else wants and expects of me, you can achieve that greatness, but you do it in your own way. I did not want to be a tax attorney. My parents wanted me to become an accountant. Okay, Melissa, you've known me for quite some time now. Could you imagine me being an accountant behind a desk and pushing? Oh my gosh, absolutely. No, not.
That's how I feel about accounting too. My dad's a CPA.
Like,
Sorry, Dad.
No, it's snooze and cruise, and you just get that glazed over look, and you're just thinking.
I'm going to tell you both right now that I initially went to university for accounting.
Oh,
wow.
I didn't make it past year one. I didn't make it past year one. I changed my major right away.
No, that's
smart maneuver.
Yeah, very smart. It took me a a while longer. It took me about another year and a half, Melissa, to realize that is not a great place to be. And, you know, with me, I've always been interested in history, culture, arts. I mean, I've been traveling the world my entire life, but how do you put that all together and once again pass that message on? And once I figured that part out, that was the most difficult part, was figuring out how you can take your gifts and your potential and put them out in the world and do it in a place where you can grow and encourage others to follow your lead. So definitely a lot of work for sure.
Yeah, and what I love about your story is that it comes from a place of not necessarily being down and out, like and having this huge adversity right away in childhood, and I mean, I know my story came from this big adversity, and I know that you've experienced those things throughout your life, but in childhood it came from a place of being pushed more to excellence and dealing with it. So in my childhood, I wasn't, nobody expected me to be anything. Nobody pushed me towards anything. And I had to be a giant and grow through that process to figure out how to be there. But coming out of the womb, you had these expectations to be that giant and to push towards these things. And it was kind of that, okay, I want to be there. I want to be that giant, but I don't want to go in that direction. I want to go in this direction. And it was finding a different direction, finding your own direction. And I love that different perspective that you bring.
Were you supported too in that shift? Like when you figured out you wanted to do something different, were you supported in that, or was it like out of the mainstream or out of the normal?
It was okay. It was definitely out in left field, guys. Okay, so I think it started with the concept of, let's talk stereotypes here. Let's just get real and get raw and into it. I'm an Indian. I'm an Asian. Everybody expects me to be an engineer, go home, play with my calculator, and eat chicken curry every night. Sorry to disappoint you. That's
Sounds delicious, though.
The curry is great. The curry part is wonderful.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm not a physician. Not an engineer. I'm not a lawyer.
Aww.
And when you're dealing with the educational stereotypes that come with being an Indian, being an Asian, it's intense. So, oh, well, you're not doing these things and you're not doing anything in the post-grad life. Well, you're wasting your intelligence. You're wasting the perfect mix of caffeine and genetics, right? And wasting away your life. And I think with my parents, first of all, really supportive, really liberal. For me, my mom has always said, one, the best start I can give you is an education, because they came to this country with nothing but their education. They're part of the royal family. I mean, they could have had the life in India and they left. So I'm a first generation born American, and they have built successful businesses, medical practices. My father is a very, very well-known consultant and retired educator in higher education as an engineer. They've done tremendous things, and they always said, look, education is great. I want you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, not only financially, but emotionally and mentally. I want you to know what questions to ask, when to ask them, and how to ask them. But it was so weird because this whole dynamic got turned on its ear because they didn't really understand wholeheartedly what I was doing. And I think that's what it was. When I decided to change majors, they're like, oh my gosh, you're going into a field in history and Egyptology where you got to be the best of the best. And I got there. I mean, I retired from that career ages ago, a few years ago. But I mean, the struggle is real. The opportunities are hard to come by. And every parent worries about their kid from the moment they find out they're having a kid. And so it freaked them the heck out. They said, okay, there goes the plan. Oh no, there goes the plan. Like everything that was written down for you and what we could do for you and open the doors for you, freak out.
Oof.
So, and my dad is a consultant. So he understood things my mother as a physician didn't understand. He understood the grind. He understood the idea of how do you get clients? How do you build this business up? The realities of it. And he said, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, oh, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. And as soon as I did that, and I put together the pieces of what I was doing and how I was helping and what my business was about, the comprehension level absolutely came up, and there was a lot of support. At the beginning, no, there was not a lot of support because they were more terrified than anything else. And they were worried about money. They were worried about me living in a cardboard box with my cat. They were worried about, what if she makes the wrong choice? What do we do? Do we get her back into school and force her to finish up this degree? Like what happens here? And I don't think many people are aware of the truth. I mean, people think, oh, well, that's something that only happens in movies, or that's only stuff that happens in those drama TV shows. And I can tell you, it's very real. Being put in a place where you can't even breathe, and everybody sees all these opportunities. I mean, my parents are very well known. Melissa, you know where I come from and my background, and everybody sees these opportunities. And sometimes we only see one door and we're being rammed through it, whether we want to be or not. And all we have to do is do what they tell us, and we get the keys to the kingdom, whether it's the billion-dollar business, whether it's following in multi-generational footsteps, going to universities. I had a friend of mine who hung themselves when they were 18 because they didn't make it into Harvard, and they were a 7th generation family member. So, I mean, I don't think people really realize that there are strings attached. And to, dare I say, not have that support, I was very fortunate. I have a lot of friends who are extremely fortunate where they said, look, I just want to go back and do my own thing. Sometimes they go back to the family and what they're doing, and they're happy with it. Other times they're doing really well on their own, doing what they want to do. And then unfortunately there is that segment of people where they just are the unhappiest people in the world. They're making such big contributions, but it's not what they want to do. So I've always been about find your passion with purpose. And no matter how hard it is every day, guys, just keep at it, keep moving forward. And that's the mantra of Pivotal Solutions. We keep you moving forward today for that better tomorrow.
I love that you said support too. Can you talk to us? I have a little echo here too. Can you talk to us about the other support system that you had in place other than your parents? I mean, I recall when I was leaving federal government world, and that was considered stable job, like job for life, security for life here, right? And I was leaving that, and I had managers and people in my life saying, "Are you crazy? You're leaving that job security to go do that?" So did you have that kind of thing, like those naysayers and all that kind of thing happening in your life at the same time, or did you have support from everybody else around you when that was happening?
I just feel like I got hit by a truck of bricks because I felt like the hits just kept on coming, which was great because, first of all, it built up my confidence, my ability in myself. I already had those things. My husband always says, have you always had such a strong identity of self and confidence? I said, yes. And the reason I've had it and continue to have it is because of these things that headed my way. I had a bunch of people who were telling me, what the heck are you thinking going into this line of work? And even in my journey with the history and the archaeology, I mean, I had a weird story. I have a really cool weird story where I started international and worked my way backwards. So when I was sitting there in this program going on 20 plus international digs, working with the top 1% of the world, people were like, look, you're really good at this problem solving thing, this envisioning thing, the innovation thing. What the hell are you doing thinking going into corporate? Like, it's totally not a good idea. Just start doing this. Just start as a consultant. And I started that right out the gate. And honestly, people just said, why are you turning down that corporate job? Why are you turning down that job at that museum? Why are you turning down this over here? I turned down a $500,000 paying job from P&G before I graduated. My mom to this day cannot understand, Melissa, like why I did it. And they said, you're just going to fail. Why are you turning down the security when you literally, sure, you have experience, you have the personality, you have the skill sets, but why would you turn down a safe future? Why in the world are you turning down, as I like to call it, the merry-go-round for the roller coaster? I love the roller coaster. I love the high highs, and even in the low lows, it teaches you something, pushes you forward. But also, there was a time where people just, quite frankly, turned their back on me for a little bit. They just couldn't understand. We're not talking about family. We're talking about even close friends of mine, where they said, "Is something going on with you upstairs mentally?" I mean, they even thought I was like,
I get that a lot too.
right, right, but for good reason. Like, you have to have one step in the loony bin to make this work. But I mean, they actually thought I was going through depression or some sort of like early life crisis, and
Yep.
they just really didn't understand. And then, yeah, I will say something else that I've realized. There's a difference between not understanding, being exposed to it or aware, versus not wanting to understand and not wanting to accept something. And those who couldn't get there, bye bye. Which part didn't you get, the buh or the bye? And that's something you've got to really think about. And it taught me some really important lessons, right? I mean, I always say it takes a village. You know, I have my theory of five, where you have a group of five people in your life. When you're always around them, they're teaching you something, they're helping you, they're accountability partners, they are, once again, similar in personality of your ambition, your desires, your growth. And they'll give to you straight when they think you're not doing your job, when they think that you're slipping into that negative space, you're in denial, or you've got that fixed mindset. And I think it's important that everybody has that village of support while you're going out there and taking the world by storm. You need to have those moments. I mean, listen, you and I just had this yesterday. Like, we are just like vent. I just came to her. I called her. I wasn't even out of the car, folks. Okay. I put this rental car, another story for another time, this huge SUV that they gave me for a rental car because my car's in the shop. I don't know what they were thinking. Anybody who wants to give me an SUV to drive, it's like having a drunk driver on the road. I'm sober, but I literally got to this parking lot, put this car in park. I said, Melissa, Zoom, 5 minutes. We've got to talk. And Melissa on demand. And I was just venting like crazy. And you've got to have someone like that, where they can give you clarity, a sounding board, see if you need to take a step back, offer a unique perspective. I think that's critical. And the greater you grow and whatever journey you're on or whatever season you're in, you need to have that. It's important.
Yeah,
I
I
love
love
how you went against cultural norms, how you were, you were confident in who you were as a person. That's sometimes that's difficult, especially given like everyone else telling you what you should be, or even maybe they're not like straight out telling you that, but you feel that pressure, that social pressure, and then you go and you do things that are completely out of the way of the normal as well, like inside of that field, with history and is it called Egyptology?
Yeah.
Oh, see there, yeah. I didn't want to mess that one up. Yeah, I graduated with like a B plus average or something along those lines.
Yeah,
Not
don't
from
ask me what
Harvard or
he
Yale.
tells you.
Yeah, that was from Salt Lake Community College. But what the thing I love is that you didn't let that. You could hear it and you could feel it, but you didn't let that sway you from your drive to do what you wanted to do, and that core identity of like you knew that there was something bigger and greater. I want to highlight in the book the characters in the book, the giants and the smalls. Rit, he goes down this path, and he feels that pressure from others in his world that, oh, you can't do that, you shouldn't be that, remember you're a small, right, you should be a surgeon, in programming, customer
Yep.
service, whatever that label was for him. He had that label, then they were trying to put that on him, and he knew after hitting a different level of consciousness that, hey, I want to be something different, I want to be something more, I have it in me to do something different. And then he felt that there's a picture in the book where there's a few people kind of snickering at him, and he's got his hands kind of, down
Mhm.
by his face, and he's just kind of thinking about, you know, where do I go from here? And you had that a little bit too, where people were saying, "Are you crazy? Like a $500,000 a year job? That's the dream, right? You're it. You made it." And you go do something totally out of left field and do something different, and
Yeah.
I man, that's incredible to me. That some people would cave under the pressure. Not
It was
Aashi.
hard. It was
And the
hard.
pressure I see too. I mean, I've heard Aashi talk about publishing books and about the mental state that she was in and the fear and the anxiety that she was in, that she was 18 before she published her first book. 18. Okay. Now, when I was 18 years old, I was far from thinking about publishing a first book, but that was the pressure that she was under. At 18 years old, that was her first book, and it was late. So I really want that to sink in with all of our viewers too. What were you doing and thinking about when you were 18 years old? What kind of pressure was on you at 18 years old? It certainly wasn't writing a book for me. I think I was thinking about what bar we were going to next.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I was not such a good excuse. I will say that my room, ladies and gentlemen, was not connected to the main alarm of the house. So I was able to sneak out of the window quite a bit to my boyfriend with a motorcycle. Yes. Please do not
Okay,
think that
good. You were
you're
kind of normal then.
No. Absolutely not. No. Yeah, definitely a lot of fun. But I think also part of it, the fear, you mentioned a really good point of the fear. For me, it wasn't the fear of like parental reaction or they're going to lock me up in the tower. No, it wasn't that. It was the fear of being the weak link. I refuse to be the weak link. Any project, any involvement I have, Melissa, you know this by far more than anyone, because of our work together. I always am making sure that I'm not going to let my people down. I'm not going to let my team down. I'm not going to let myself down. And for me, that fear generated from the competition. I mean, I'm a competitive person, if you haven't figured that out yet, folks. And I was competing with my dad, and that was crazy because my father has published so many times. It's ridiculous. He started journals. His students are everywhere. Vice president of SpaceX, the director of the Nautical Institute for NASA. I mean, his students are like everywhere. And yes, P.S. My book is signed on Elon Musk's desk. You're welcome. My father and I have got it signed on his desk.
That's awesome.
yeah,
Our
right?
one of our other league members, Nicole Castillo, would be super jealous right now.
Yeah, she would be. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well,
She's Team Elon for sure.
I won't brag about it too much.
Yeah, you should actually.
Yeah, but it's just things like that where, things that engineers are learning all around the world, textbook or things that he and his team and he himself came up with. I mean, so those are big shoes to fill. And I am my father's daughter. I remember I was 8 years old. I remember it like it was yesterday. My father started teaching at the University of Cincinnati in engineering, and I was following him around campus, this pint-sized thing. And somebody asked me, and they later turned out to be the president of the university many years later. Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I'm going to be just like my father. I am my father's daughter. I'm going to get a PhD like my dad. I'm going to be like my dad. I'm going to be teaching people all over the world what they need to be doing to be better. And direct quote, right? And ever since that moment, I've known, like, I am very, and I get emotional about this. I just want to do my father proud. And my father is my best friend. Every day, I just want to make him proud of the legacy he has in his one and only daughter. Sure, he's got a son who's my mother's favorite and, the golden boy. But for me, it's every single day, intention and purpose. And I had to make that my own. I didn't, it took me a long time to figure out how not to be my dad. I'm never going to be my dad. He's his own person. I'm my own person. And at that age, man, I wanted to publish as many times. I wanted to meet his record notch for notch. And then when he told me when we were working on this first book, when I was 18, 17, 18, he said, do you want to hold off do you want to slow this down? I don't want you to burn yourself out. I don't want you to be a one-hit wonder, and diamonds are created under pressure, right? And that's what he was doing. He was creating diamonds, but he didn't want me to dull out with the first touch of resistance. And that's when I realized, I'm like, look, you got to do it for yourself. I mean, even now I know, I go into my father's office, I see all this stuff on the walls, the degrees, the awards. I mean, it's like this hall of greatness, like the hall of fame for me. And I'm like, look, I'm getting there. It's just not going to be the exact same thing, notch for notch. It's not going to be mirrored. We're in two completely different industries on top of everything else. But I think as long as I'm doing what feels right and I know it's right, I keep going. I'm fine. And I think that's what trips people up the most. They meet me and they're like, oh my gosh, you're just pure sunshine. We love how sweet you are, how nice you are, how responsible, blah, 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 blah. And then they see the other side of me. They're like, oh my gosh, she's a no BS. She's coming in here to bring things in. But I think people question sincerity these days. They question genuine sincerity, and that's something I'm breaking, because I'm genuine, I'm sincere, I'm nice when I want to be and tough when I have to be, and that's the whole damn pie. You don't want it, you don't just get a slice, you get the whole damn pie. Take it or leave it. There's a bakery down the road if you want it.
I've experienced the whole pie of Aashi. I want to take us back. I love that you talked about the 5 closest people in your circle. I don't remember what you called it, but having those 5 close people. And that kind of makes me think about mentors and coaches and those kind of people that we bring into that circle every once in a while. Sometimes we let them go too, but we bring them in a little bit. And I wonder what kind of mentors and coaches you had along the way to kind of bring you into where you are now, because that was a huge load. That was a huge journey for you.
Yeah, it was, the theory of 5 is what I call it. And it took me some time, because it's like matchmaking. Try dating before marriage, guys, right? That's what I call it. It's matchmaking to see, just like with coaches, we're coaches, right? All of us here. And we have to find the client that works for us. We obviously have to respect their comfort with us. And that's what it's about. It's about trust and building that relationship. And it took me, believe it or not, until, oh gosh, well within my bachelor's degree, well within, 3 years. And then I found this gentleman, his name is Professor Sauer. And he, what I loved about him was he didn't let me hide. He didn't let me hide behind my intellect. He didn't let me hide behind my laziness. He did not let me off the hook. And he kept pressing. He's like, look, I know you're better than this. Laziness is not tolerated. He made it very clear from the get-go that I was in, a different dichotomy. The way he treats all of his mentees is very different. Another mentor of mine, he's a pretty famous Egyptologist. And I remember, I didn't even know he was in the building. I was running to get to this interview, and I was in this building I had never been before. Typical scene, like this really random basement, one of the oldest buildings on this campus. I didn't know where the heck I was. And then I finally realized, oh, wow, I need to go up to the 2nd floor. And there was this old dingy elevator at the end of this hall. And I heard it ding, and I said, oh God, I'm sure these elevators are going to take forever. I have no idea where the stairs are. Running to get to this elevator, had, by the way, a cup of coffee in my hand, folders under my arm, in heels, in this suit, my suits were gone, man, trying to get in this elevator. I stick my files in the doors and stop, and then I get my heels stuck in that wonderful little space between the elevator and the floor. Lid was not tightly on. The coffee went onto this poor soul in the elevator, this older gentleman, all over his pants, all over his beautiful white shirt and his pressed jacket. And I just thought, oh my God, I had napkins. I started pressing on his shirt. I didn't even look up to see who this guy was. And he just put his hands on my hands as I was just patting his shirt. And he's like, it's okay. It's all right. And I'm thinking, what are you thinking telling me it's all right? You probably have 2nd-degree burns from this hot coffee. I look up. It's Dr. Hawass. Now, for people who don't know who Dr. Hawass is, he's literally the #1 Egyptologist and in the top 10 archaeologists in the world. All of the recent discoveries involving the Sphinx, probably in the last 35 years, have been this man and his contributions. Discoveries under the Sphinx. We can go on and on and on. Anyways, this man is like a living legend. And I sat here and just basically assaulted him with a cup of coffee. And that was the beginning of what was a very intriguing, and now it's been a lifelong relationship that obviously will continue on if I have anything to say about it, transcending life and death. But he once again provided me with opportunity of skill set. And he said, look, do you want to do this? Do you want to be there? Oh my gosh, it's my cat feeder going on in the background. I apologize. Do you want to be in the top 1%? What are you ready to do? And he took what was already in me, yanked it out, the boundlessness, the boldness, the confidence, and just literally, he calls it the rainbow cannon, basically took everything out and just redirected it. And he was influential. But I will say, as far as mentors go for it. Talk to people, have those conversations. Melissa is one of my mentors. I talk to her about everything and anything in between, everything from feet in the grass to I'm having a great day to do you want to take a minute and just have a grounding exercise? But it's important for you to really find people that fit, because I've also experienced mentors where, quite frankly, they saw me as a cash cow. When the university for my bachelor degree realized that I was publishing books, they were trying to intercept with university press. They were trying to get a percentage of the profits. And then I realized, no. Lessons you learn young, they're tough lessons. And I'm saying this to anybody getting started young. Learn as much as you can. Talk to as many people as you can. Absorb as much as you can, like a sponge. But also be ready to go at it alone, toe to toe, ready to scrap. Actively listen. Your parents are not always going to be there. Your mentors are not always going to be there. Their job is to make sure you can handle the beautiful thing called life and the roller coaster of life on your own. So when I went up against a university system at 18, because they wanted royalties, because they said, well, you technically use our facilities for research. I said, I am a student under your organization, but here's all the paperwork and the other 3 universities I've been working with that can prove an irrefutable trail of data and story, saying I used you guys one time for one book. And by the way, most of that research was applied to this paper, but you can talk to this person, and you have to be ready and find the confidence in yourself. It all comes from yourself. It all starts with ourselves. And you can have a crisis of confidence at any time. I've had it. I've had days where I'm like, this person isn't texting me back. Did I do something? Are they not interested in working? And you know what it is? It's timing. They're in appointments just like you. I mean, even now I have times where I'm thinking, are they just not interested in pursuing? But my question to that, and I ask this of myself, is, okay, even if they're not interested in pursuing this and you want to, how do you want to go about doing it? Do you want to bring another person in the fold? What are your next steps? How do you make yourself a radical collaborationist, but also radically independent for yourself?
Yeah, I love that you touched on personal accountability. And, I've experienced that a few times where, I've sent messages and someone hasn't gotten back. And I have the same feelings where, did I piss them off? Are they not interested? Do they not want to be a part of the project? And I love that we can go back inside ourselves and have that personal accountability. But I also love that you were talking about struggles and talking about challenges and getting over those challenges. And I'm wondering if you can tell us about any other challenges or like huge roadblocks that you really encountered in getting from there to here, and how did you overcome them? How did you get past that? What got you through to where you are?
Or was it just like a cakewalk, easy peasy,
Yeah,
other than spilling coffee on a world-renowned Egyptologist?
Yeah, I know. I love diving into cake. It's fun. It's one of my favorite kinds. And it's yummy, delicious too, right? Honestly, I'm thinking about the pandemic. I know that's a weird place to go to, but everybody talks about this concept of the new normal, right? I call it the next normal because there's always something coming down the pipeline. It's the same thing with these obstacles. The pandemic has provided a number of obstacles and challenges for us, but it's the same concept. There's always going to be something coming up. There's always going to be a set of obstacles. Um, we're talking about transitioning, from like, well, Egyptology and the work you're doing with historic sites and museums to consulting. How did you get there? When we started dealing with all of those clients and all those people, um, they said, well, I've got this problem over here, and I've got this issue over here. And I came in and I started working on it. So I transitioned and retired. But the biggest obstacle I have ever faced was going from transitioning as an independent consultant, right, to opening my firm. I call myself a doctor, if you will, of organizational health, right? Diagnosis, assessment plan, prescription is how we approach things. So I don't really use the term consultant for myself and my company as a practitioner. Um, and it goes back to you once again exploring your relationships with people. I mean, that I think and as women, we get emotional about things. I think everybody does, but people think that we're just going to flat out start crying. I'm not a crier, and I cried a lot. Okay. And it goes back to being confident, but also understanding of your own relationship. I mean, the problem with starting out was, and I see this with my clients, and I did have a little bit of this at the beginning. We never charge what we're worth. We always give away the store. We never want to talk about money because we don't like our relationship with money. We're not comfortable talking about how much money we make, where we're investing our money, if we're in debt, and all of these wonderful lessons. And then on top of that wonderful array of, starting a business and incorporating all these ideas, then you've got your relationship with your clients, where I wish, okay, I wish every client paid on time. If you ever hear someone tell you that I don't have problems with clients paying on time, call me. Take a picture, record the video because they are lying, and then send it my way, and I'll put it on Instagram and send it to everybody I know, right? Because that's a bunch of horse hockey. Like, you will run into things that just exhaust you. All right, you've got to. The biggest obstacle is just emotionally staying with it. When you're thinking about quitting, remember why you started. When, for me, it's either pull a boxing Helena or let my hand go. I mean, and what's the point in casting a good punch or having your strongest foot out there if you're not going to follow through? So emotionally staying in neutral, and that is so much easier said than done, right? We always tell one another, just, stay positive and think puppies and sunshine. I'm thinking, stop. You're having these emotions and reactions for a reason. Don't push them away.
I love puppies.
Walk and I like kittens. Puppies are cute. I'm a cat person. I've got 3 of them. And I think it's important, right? To have an emotional sense. And that means taking care of yourself. And that was one of the biggest things I had to learn was self-care. And self-care is productive. How can you give the best of yourself to your clients, to your people, to the world if you're not giving it to yourself? How do you expect that to happen? How do you expect your team to count on you when you're, quite frankly, in the hospital due to stress, or you're not taking care of your body, you're not taking care of the holistic picture? So when you're dealing with clients not paying their bills and having to bring in third party, legality and whatnot, you've got to make sure you're running your life in tandem. It's not integration, it's not balance, it's just life. So that is the biggest thing. You've got to be taking care of, once again, yourself, your emotions, your physical health, ecumenically, I mean, all of it. And you let it go. I mean, I know people I think we all know people, right? Heart attack, stroke, from stress. I mean, we're prime candidates for it. Yeah. So it's important. So that's the biggest thing for sure.
Yeah, I love that you touch on self-care, because I think as adults and a lot of the time as busy entrepreneurs and or parents at the same time, we don't take time for that self-care. And I know Aashi and I have talked about that together. We've been like, I think you need to put some time in your schedule and for that self-care, and you need to schedule that in. So even as two busy entrepreneurs that have been at it for a while, we still remind each other to go and take that self-care.
What
So,
do you do for like a routine or self-care and things like that? Because I find a lot of common things from all the giants that we interview, and so I'm curious to hear what your routines are and your self-care, and I think you're excited to share too.
I'm very excited. I'm like, yay! Like,
I get pictures of feet in grass all the time.
right?
Ooh, grounding. That's amazing. I love that. Nick, are you listening?
Yeah, sorry.
He loves grounding.
Yeah.
No. So I have this thing that I do myself, and of course for my clients as well. It's called the turn down service. So we go on vacation, we go to hotels, we go to resorts, and they turn down the beds and close the curtains and light the candles and leave a ridiculous amount of chocolate mints on your pillow that will result in a stomach ache like an hour later. Serves you right. But when we get home, we don't do jack. We just go back and fall into routines, or simply surviving, not thriving, not feeling alive. And salts, Melissa's very familiar with this. They say take shallow sips, not small bites even, but shallow sips and small changes. So we set up a routine, like what do you want to do that equates the same feeling of de-stress, the lack of anxiety, calmness as turn down service would provide for you. So for some of my clients, sure, it's journaling, and they do aromatherapy or they do yoga. I mean, everybody has their own thing. Me personally, okay, you're going to laugh very hard, but it starts with brushing my hair. I kid you not. I literally lit 4 feet of hair down. It's like wrapped up in this nice little bun right now. And I just brush my hair. I don't know. There's something very hypnotic and zen about it. I'll have zither music playing. And I
I have a
literally
problem.
brush.
I don't think Ryan can
I
do
could
that
like
one.
rub my fuzz.
Well, maybe you could do like your beard, like take a little
Oh,
comb. You could do that. Or you could rub your head too. It stimulates blood flow so you can
sure.
get a little bit more coverage up there.
Right.
Too. But people laugh. And then after I brush my hair, I've got, this beautiful Chinese zither music playing. It's a musical instrument, is zither, and it just is relaxing. It gets me in this place. And then I just like to, quite frankly, read. And sometimes it's the trashy stuff. Melissa, I think you and I have a little other times it's just, that really good guilty pleasure, right? So there'll be some ice cream involved. There'll be some soju. Yes, there will be alcohol here for those of us who are old enough to imbibe legally. So there's that, and once again, I want to stress this. I don't just have one routine. Okay. I have multiple routines because sometimes I am so wigged out. Sometimes I'm so stressed out by things, or it's just like that one call that just, oh man, you just want to turn the key and just shove them in a chest, just like throw them out to sea. And you just wish you never picked up that phone. I think we've all had moments like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have different routines. So another routine of mine, honestly, is I'll just take a beautiful long hot bath. I have to have bubbles. I have to have salts, and I have to have no interruption. Sometimes my cats like to come in, and when I'm having one of those days, sorry kiddos, like you can't come in. Other times it's spending time with my husband. I mean, I am a traveler. Okay, so COVID's kind of been weird. Haven't traveled too much. So for me, I love learning something new. What most people see as stressful is relaxing to me. So cooking, it's relaxing. I love to cook. Been doing it forever. So I'll get in the kitchen, and my husband thinks I've got some sort of nesting syndrome because I'll be cooking everything in the house, and he'll come home and it's like, I'm smelling it from the driveway, and he'll be like, are we cooking for an army? Who else is coming over? And it's just for us. Other times when I'm traveling, I love to just move so fast. So we're checking new things out, new museums, new historic places, talking to new people, even having conversations with strangers. Yes, that's how I relax. Sometimes I'll go to a park and I'll just sit down on a bench and I'll start talking to a stranger, and it works. So those are kind of my go-tos. I know people laugh. They're like, sometimes it's old lady, and other times, I'm not going to lie, I do go to a bar and literally take a couple shots, and then I go. I leave. I drive with the top down. So you have to have a variety of things. But honestly, yeah, playing hopscotch with the sun during sunset with the top down is one of my favorites by far.
Awesome.
Yes, we were talking about her 2-seater car yesterday. I want you to, because I see what time it is here, and I want to make sure that we cover Get Your Life Back. I know that you haven't had a full launch yet with Get Your Life Back, but tell us a little bit about it. Give us the sneak peek, and tell us a little bit about what that's about and what you're creating there.
Oh, yes. So I think this is honestly by far my favorite venture since I've even honestly gone started with anything I've done in my professional life. Forget about the authorship and whatnot. I mean, and this is, I feel completely aligned with. So it's called Get Your Life Back, the professional woman's experience. And essentially, we've realized, hey, look, in light of COVID, but even beforehand, it just put a spotlight on the fact that women are not happy with where they are. They are not living the best version of their life. They're simply surviving, going through the motions. And what this whole concept is about focuses on not only surviving, not only thriving, getting out of that daily routine, but honestly feeling alive. How do you get to the point in your life where you're living the best version of your life? What does that even look like? And it all goes back to up here, giving yourself the permission to imagine big and to dream big. It all starts up here. Actions, thoughts, and things come to fruition starts with taking that time and pulling it out of you. Clarity. What do those dreams look like? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to remember? What do you want to be remembered for? Right? And really starting there with the dreaming concept from visioning it out all the way to bring it to fruition. Sure, we talk about things like imposter syndrome and self imposed expectations and the glass ceiling, right? And it really focuses on um, issues, needs, the commonality of women in the professional space. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur for 20 years, it doesn't matter if you are an empty nester going back to the corporate environment, or you're going into the workforce for your very first job. These are all things that affect you and your life, and we want you to get your life back, get it under control, do what you want to do, and achieve it in the way you want to achieve it. So we've got a lot of exciting stuff happening with this. We haven't officially launched yet, but we're working on a book as we speak. My partner and I on Get Your Life Back. We're working on a radio show and a television show as well. We've also got curriculum going where it's literally just 6-week curricula, of course, where we get speakers. I mean, good dear friends from one of my theory of fives. I mean, experts from around the world and places, and quite frankly, professions that affect us. I mean, I've got one particular client who unfortunately fell into depression this past year during Christmas because she felt like she had to be the perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect, quite frankly, executive professional working for a Fortune 100 company. And then she had to deal with Christmas and decorating the house to be more beautiful for such a hopeful, inspiring year coming out of COVID, right? And she broke. I mean, she was in bed for a few weeks because she just couldn't deal with the pressure. And it just once again completely consolidated and reaffirmed why this is so important. We need a place to feel vulnerable and talk, because I don't think any of us could honestly raise our hand and say we have never had an experience where we talk about our dreams and what we really want to do with family and friends and not be laughed out of a room or given those crazy looks, right? We have family and they're supportive, friends who are supportive, but we have a history with them, right? It's about dealing with women, with other women in the same position, meeting each other where we're at in this journey, but also saying, look, we're right here. We're in that same space. We're pushing forward. So we want you to get your life back and then come back and say, hey, I got my life. So full circle.
Family's great most of the time, but you do have that history with family, right? Where they know your positives and negatives. They know everything, that history. So I relate with that. That's why I don't hang around with my family that often, even though I love them.
Who you are
My
versus
5 is not my family.
Yes. No, and no one's saying it has to be or not. I mean, for me, I appreciate that. I'm right there with you. They're not. Because I think people have this idea of who you are and who they want you to be, right? Or who you are and who you're only going to be. For me, the purpose of this is, hey, this is who you are. This is what you're working towards, and this is who you want to be. And even though you'll never stop liking a random bag of potato chips or those characteristic traits, doesn't mean that defines who you are, and only those characteristics define what you are. And that's what this is about. Who do you want to be? How do we get you there? And you're not alone.
I love that. I was like mesmerized by that. What was going through my head was like, how do you pick your 5? What is this criteria? What does that have to look like to pick your 5?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think that's up to everybody, right? I mean, I know some people who just even start literally writing it out. I mean, they write lists of names and they go through this incredible process. For me, it goes back to who jives, right? Who's not going to be um, presumptuous or judgmental in the ways that are non-productive, right? Constructive criticism, it's about moving forward, it's about doing, it's not about being stuck in the past. I mean, I was looking over your social media, and there's this wonderful quote about your past. When the past calls, send it to voicemail. I mean, I aligned with that immediately, and I've been using that for the last few days with people left, right, and center, because it just hits it on the head. We've got to keep growing, and you keep moving forward.
I think for me, my 5 is it evolves, and it depending on what I'm needing at that moment. Somebody else, I might let somebody go for just a second and pull somebody in, and then it's kind of interchangeable. I look at more of like a puzzle that has interchangeable pieces at the time I need it presented into your space and in your life that can help elevate you and reach your giant potential.
Right. And I love that because, I call it the trigger. I know people usually see that in a negative connotation, but in this case, I'm turning into something positive, right? Where we're triggering yourself, your personality, and what you're doing, and opening yourself to the opportunities for people to come find you, right? Versus that tripwire, which is more of the negative space of what are you doing to basically shoot yourself in the foot. But the concept of triggering, and I mean, like I said before, I have multiple theories of 5. I mean, it really just depends on the conversation, how I'm feeling, what we're talking about, honestly, the day. So once again, doesn't have to be limited to 5. We're not having to cut off, 5. Oh, you're number 6. Oh, well, you have to wait.
Sorry.
Right. So, I mean, and even if it's just starting with one person too, right? I know people feel guilty about it. They said, well, I'm just coming to this person and venting. And I'm thinking, okay, how is this a two-way street? Are they venting back? Do they also identify with some of your experiences? Because once again, I mean, we've been there as entrepreneurs. We've got friends who are in the 9 to 5 space, where that $500,000 job is not. They said it was 9 to 5. Please, they own you, like you're branded and everything for the rest of your life or until you leave. But you can't always have the same conversations because they're talking about complaining about their boss or those conversations near the water cooler, and they can't wait to check out at 5 p.m. on Friday to get out to the nearest bar. And we're sitting here, Melissa, at 11 o'clock talking about concepts involving education and radio. I'm sitting here at 3 o'clock in the morning with a colleague of mine in Tulum about stuff we're doing in Morocco. We're having conversations at 8 o'clock at night with Japan. I mean, it really is different. And once again, it goes back to that mentality. It's lifestyle, but it's not just work to us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be putting in the time. We wouldn't be motivated to be doing what we're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have one last question I want to ask you. I want to ask you to share with everyone what advice you would give to everyone, or what you would have even said to yourself if you were starting over today. if you were like right at back down at that ground zero, what advice would you give to yourself or to anyone else who's starting where you were?
Honestly, don't back down. That's the number. I mean, I think about that every day. I don't see it as a regret, but I see it as a reminder to myself and my purpose and intention every day. But yeah, part of me sees it like that sometimes. If you're going after something and you want it and you believe in it, I mean, I feel it in all of my chakras. I feel it in my heart, my head, my gut, every cell in my body. If you want to go after it, go after it. Don't let anybody tell you no. Don't let anybody tell you to waste, or excuse me, it's a waste of time and to wait. Eat no for breakfast. Don't let them ever tell you to wait until it's your time. Go for it and go for it now, because you can always lose money, make money back, but you cannot get your time back. Go for it and don't let anybody tell you no.
I think opportunity is that way as well. So like there's certain opportunities that come in, and if you don't move, the universe likes speed. And so if you sit back and start questioning and wondering and then it'll pass you by. And I like what you said, you can make money anytime, you can earn money wherever. But those opportunities for growth, go after it. You can be, do, or have anything that you want. So go after it. I love that.
Yeah, I love eat no for breakfast too. I was in this speech contest about a year and a half ago, and this gentleman, Robert Brooker, he was giving a speech as well in the same contest, and he came up and the first thing he said was, "I eat adversity for breakfast." And I remember, my marketing guy actually now, I remember him saying, walking up to him after this, I won the speech contest, by the way. But I remember when they were giving all the feedback, my marketing guy, Tim Burt, he looked at Robert and he said, "That's the title of your next book. That's the book. I eat adversity for breakfast." And I've always remembered that. So I love that you said eat no for breakfast. It's the same concept, and it really drives that home in your head, right? Just keep going, and doesn't matter what people say to you.
I know, and I will say something, and this is the crazy side about this is that there might be people who are really close to you, like whether they're family, your spouse, your friends, and there might be some tough moments. There were definitely some tough moments where, once again, it's for the sake of growth, where I've had to let people go out of my life because they just didn't understand. And that will happen. So when you're sitting there chowing down on no and you're having some OJ with it, keep in mind that you might be sitting at that table alone, but not for long. There are chairs. There are other people in the room. And I'm not saying don't try to, work things. I'm not saying kick them to the curb, do what you got to do, but you will have some tough choices. And that's what it is. Approach every choice like it is life and death. And that'll motivate you to make that choice that fits with you. For sure.
Melissa, any final thoughts on that as we wrap up here we want to honor time.
Yeah, I was just going to wrap up and say thank you so much, Aashi, for being with us today. I appreciate you spending the time to talk to us today. And gosh, I appreciate your journey. I appreciate seeing the other side of that, because when Aashi and I really started talking, I never really understood that angle, that side, that type of adversity, really being pushed to be something to that extent, because I didn't grow up that way. So I think it really brings a different perspective, and I'm grateful that you were here today to share that perspective with us.
Yeah, and that's why we have these shows, is we, to see other giants and their perspective and their journey and honor their journey, because a lot of people can find similarities, but then also can see a different side of the coin that they didn't see before. And we appreciate you for joining us today. And I feel like that we could go for hours and hours and hours, that we barely even scratched the scratch, like nothing, not nothing of what your life has encompassed. And so for all of those that have watched, go find Aashi and find her however you can, get around her, learn about her story, get in front of her, and follow the things that she's doing. Yes.
iced coffee, if you
Yeah,
please.
you know what?
Yes, I'm
Just
not learning why.
stay away from elevators when she's got coffee in her hands and high heels. Hey, you know what though? But that's one of the coolest things to one of the world's renowned Egyptologists, and like that's one of the most amazing things. And to have mentors, and by almost chance. It almost seems like chance, but I don't think it was by chance. I think it was exactly how it was supposed to happen. And you and a bunch of others in your life prepared you for that exact moment, and it might not have worked out like you had envisioned in your mind, being introduced, in a proper way, but I think that it happened exactly how it needed to. And those are huge lessons and powerful lessons that we got to learn from you today. And I'd love to have you back at some point, and maybe we could get into some deeper conversations on other topics, and continue to promote what you're doing. We appreciate you and your time. For those that are out there in giant land, make sure you subscribe. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can join us at the a Tribe of Giants. It's a place where we can all support each other and learn from each other's experiences, and a positive, happy place. And also, if you haven't picked up the copy of the book, The Giants and the Smalls by Nicholas T. Smith, make sure you go do that. It's a fantastic book that shows you your giant potential, and puts it in a really beautiful story with the imagery is amazing. And so if you haven't done that, go get that. We'd love to send you a copy too, and we'll get your shirt size, so hang around with us after we play the outro. And but yeah, you get to sport some of our swag. So
So special. Like, I love it. I love it.
any final thoughts, Melissa?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Grateful for everyone for being here today.
Yep. Thank you so much. And everyone else, make it a giant day.